Hello and welcome to the Marketing Roundtable. My name is Tatiana Knie-Smith and I work in design, and today we're switching things up a little bit. I am joined by Brandon, our producer usually in the host spot.
Hello, I'm Brandon Jones. I work in paid media.
And our other usual co-host, Rachel, is over here in the guest spot today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
How do you feel in the hot seat?
Good.
Great.
You ready?
I am ready.
Nice.
So, who is Rachel Rhodes? Give me the background. What led you to this point?
Yeah, sure. Hello, coworkers, friends, family, future clients. I'm Rachel. I work in organic social. I went to Temple University graduated with a degree in advertising, but I had concentrated in both copywriting and art direction. During my time at Temple, I studied abroad in South Korea, and that was when I started a YouTube channel, which ultimately changed the course of my life because I realized how much I love social media and connecting with other people and audiences. And once I got back to Temple, having my YouTube channel was what got me basically my dream internship and also my first creative job out of college. So after graduating, I actually moved back overseas to South Korea, and I spent some time working as a content manager for a small cosmetics brand. And I basically I did a lot of script writing, a lot of ad copywriting, and I oversaw a small team of 2 and then later 3 video editors. I handled the UGC, so we would have influencers come in and I would interview them, get to know them, show them how to use our products. We had one from Ireland, and I loved working with her because editing her content, she had that Irish accent, and it was just like so much fun to work with her in general. But yeah, after I moved back to Philly, I was looking for a different situation, and enter Tatiana, old friend from middle school, former college roommate. She was like, hey, come work with me at my company. And I was like, sure. So I applied. I had a fantastic interview. As soon as I was brought on, it just felt like the BrainDo team was so ready to receive my experience. And it's just been, great.
You mentioned how that job you landed after being international and starting your YouTube channel was your dream job. Can you explain why?
Why being the content manager was the dream job?
Yes.
Well, I thought it would be, but I actually wasn't doing too much hands-on social media. And that was why I kind of I wanted to leave, because I missed actually doing social. Because at home, I was, a content creator. I still had my YouTube channel. I was building my own audience. I was editing, and I missed doing that. It's different overseeing the editors versus actually editing things yourself. And while I love script writing and things like that, I really wanted to get back into just, straight up organic social media management.
So that's very interesting too, because obviously you have a skill set that I would say not most social media people have. And it kind of reminds me of myself too, because I actually have a background in video as well. And now I work in paid media, which I remember one day you brought up we're almost like cousins to each other.
Yeah.
Paid and social. How much do you think your video background actually gives you a full picture, like allows you to see the full process, and from the scripting part, actually being able to like strategize and come up with?
So it is definitely that like side hustle. It's not like I went to school for video production and I learned cinematography and all these things, but I do have that side of the content creation, which is where, I was doing my own hashtag research. I was doing my own video editing. I was doing my own research for topics, etc. So to then switch and go back and forth between doing it in my personal life and professionally, you get to see both sides of what matters and where you should cut time for different things. And it gives you a respect for both sides. Sometimes you just need to get something out, and sometimes you need to just do something for the creativity of it,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Working both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
And that gives you, the advantage of being able to plan for both as well as execute both. I don't know if there's really a term for it in content or whatever, but, in dev, I feel like you definitely call that, you're, full stack. Can do back end and front end and, whatever else developers do.
Full stack, organic social.
Yeah.
And it can be hard, too, making content. So I can imagine just working to make content and also be on social media. You now have the ability to have empathy,
Yeah.
Like understanding the full process and being able to
Yeah,
really
for sure.
really direct people in
Right.
the right way to make
Right.
sure it's a nice, well-oiled machine.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So kind of transitioning off of that, what is social media management itself?
So I would say there are 4 different aspects. One is analyzing and identifying where your audience is, because not everyone is on every platform. Aside from that, content production and planning and content creation, like how much can you really do on your end versus hiring out. So aside from knowing where your audience is and content production, there's also community management, which can be anything from UGC, managing influencers, like I mentioned earlier, to just, scrolling through YouTube comments and making sure everything's hearted and responded to. And this kind of 4th wrinkle that we have now is trend analysis. Like memes have always kind of wafted in and out of the zeitgeist, but now we have trending audios and formats and green screen effects, and it's just so much to be paying attention to. And that's not even necessarily right for every brand to be paying attention to these trends. But, maybe it could be a space you need to look at.
There might be one that really works for you.
One meme that you're like, this is it. I can jump on this bandwagon right now.
But that bandwagon is moving fast.
Yeah.
Like
That's
you
true.
need to catch it while you can.
Exactly.
Micro trends are now what we're calling it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just shuffling through them. And yeah, it definitely helps to have somebody who's like, that's their job to keep up.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It all moves so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is funny to see like some people post a trend that kind of expired 2 months ago and you're like, oh, I wonder what your algorithm looks like that you're like, this trend is relevant now.
Well, I guess that comes to sort of like batch producing,
It
which
does,
is something we always talk about. And I imagine that definitely is something that contributes to it.
Yeah. So there's, I guess a year ago, there was definitely this huge big push for like batch production. And that's like, okay, you pick one day, you're going to film this many things, you're going to get it all done at this one point in time so that you can take time to schedule it out later. And you're seeing now a lot of people move away from that because the trends are moving so quickly. They're like, okay, if we batch produce everything a month ahead of time, we're not going to be able to pivot for like a new trend or whatever. So some people are kind of micro batching where they just kind of split it in half, do a couple things one day, a couple things another day. I'm still a big fan of batch producing content, especially for brands and companies. When it's your own personal brand, you can break things up a little differently. But when it's for a corporate brand or an agency or a company, I would still recommend batch producing content.
Yeah. That evergreen content
Yes.
of like what
Evergreen,
you
yep.
do is never going to change.
Yeah.
But, we definitely, the strategy we do is we split and we try to leave some room to sprinkle in those little trends when they come up. Like when corn was so popular, we had so much fun doing that.
Classic.
Yeah. We loved corn.
Yeah, we had the corn wedding. It was perfect timing. How many people who worked in social media actually just like happened to have their wedding happen at the perfect time for corn wedding audio trending? Like,
Shout out to myself scheduling a wedding for September of 2022.
Yeah, it just worked out.
Peak corn popularity.
Yeah, the commitment. You just threw a wedding just for that audio.
It's going to be stuck in my head for the rest of the day now.
You're welcome.
We didn't even play it. And
Yeah, you need to imagine.
So kind of speaking about trends in that way and overall social media management too, depending audience on when you're watching this might date the video a little bit, but right now AI is everywhere. It's blowing up ever since, ChatGPT.
We have a blog coming out about it
Yeah.
this week, I believe.
And now Snapchat on, like the actual social media platforms they just implemented an AI. Facebook is in talks with implementing an AI. Speaking towards also getting batch content together or just approaches and methods, how do you kind of see the landscape changing in that way with maybe implementing AI?
AI might be the reason why I re-download Snapchat, because I haven't had Snapchat for several years. And it might be, I don't know, a force that brings Snapchat back into I think we're at the top 7, right? So we have Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter. I think, did I get Pinterest. Those are the big ones. I'm not good at math. Is that 7? I don't know. But we might see Snapchat kind of re-enter that sphere with this use of AI, and it is very interesting because while it is so great and so fun and so useful for certain things, social media is a place for transparency. It's a place where people like to see people. It's a place where people like to see genuine authenticity. So while we will be seeing more AI, I'm sure of it, it won't necessarily take away from the fact that social is meant for interpersonal connections. And I don't foresee AI being able to replace that. It'll definitely enhance things, like on Snapchat. One of the things they brought up is like, it can help you with birthday gift recommendations for friends. And that's awesome. I want that. I want something to tell me what to buy my friends, but it's not going to replace my connection with my friend,
I can definitely relate to what you just said. Being in paid media, right now we are seeing a lot of shifts with Google in automation, PMAX, and the implementation of AI with like Bing Search, Bard with Google. At the end of the day, it's going to make jobs easier, but you can't replace the middleman in a way. Like if you let the AI kind of run away with it, then next thing you know, a lot of the goals that we set originally are going to be way overpaced, not specialized, not managed as well. So I agree, like at the end of the day, as useful as it can be or as not useful as it can be, there's always that need for interpersonal connections with clients.
The human touch.
Yeah.
The human eye. Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how the landscape, especially in the next year, changes.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see where things go.
Maybe we'll swing back away from AI to just intelligence.
I hope in some ways you're right.
PI, personal intelligence, and private investigator into the trends of today.
So I know we talked about a couple different sections, capabilities of social media, from influencers to the strategy side, content creation. Could you please explain more, just concisely, what is the difference between a social media manager, a content creator, and an influencer?
Yeah. So job listings will vary with what they want. A lot of places don't consider that these can be mutually exclusive of each other. And some people genuinely are all three. A micro influencer that hasn't had, big enough of a budget yet to hire an editor is probably their own content creator, editing their own stuff, and their own strategist, implementing their own strategy. So you can be all three. But if we are talking about them mutually exclusive of each other, a social media manager is going to be the strategy side. So they're probably paying attention to algorithms, hashtags, etc., best practices. A content creator is someone actually in production, so like a video editor, a designer. And then an influencer you could think of as the talent, like the actor, who you pay to bring on.
We're the talent.
We are the talent. And the content creator.
Right. But I don't know if we're at influencer status yet, but
maybe someday.
Yeah.
If our stars align.
We're talking some about the big 7.
Yeah.
The big 7. Maybe 8 if Snapchat comes back. I hope it doesn't.
Let's see.
But I know this is a hot topic, even internally, I'm sure a lot of people talk about this, should every brand be on every platform?
That's a question I've definitely received before, and I would say no. Controversial take, but you don't need to be on every platform. If anything, I would recommend, claiming your handle, your company's name on every platform, and then maybe just pinning a post. So if you're really trying to beef up your Pinterest, but you want to make sure you have a Twitter, you just don't have time for the Twitter right now, you can pin a tweet that says, hey, so glad you're here. We're super active on Pinterest. Come check us out there.
Yeah.
Redirect people. I would say if you definitely need to be on social media, but you only have space and bandwidth for 2 items, LinkedIn and Facebook are kind of like the starter kit, the basics for having a decent social media presence. If you want to build from there, you need to assess where your audience is, because you don't want to be on the wrong platform and kind of investing your time in a space that isn't going to serve you as well as a different space. So where your audience is, what your team's bandwidth is. Do you have someone dedicated to social media? How much of their time can be dedicated to social media? It can be a full-time job by itself. So you want to be cognizant of that and how much time you're asking employees to spend on something. And if you don't have the bandwidth, outsource, hire an agency.
Yeah, like us. And when we're talking about bandwidth, it's really easy to fall into what you've.
They agree.
Yeah, they love the content. Yep. I've heard you say, a bunch of times is a survival account. Could you please explain what that is and how that relates to choosing where you want to be.
Yeah, you're so right in making that connection that you end up with survival accounts when you just don't have the bandwidth. I don't know if this is like a term other people use. I refer to accounts that are not meeting best practices as survival accounts. So if you're out in the ocean of content that is social media, you're just treading water. You're not sinking, but you're not swimming anywhere or doing anything. You're just kind of floating. And this is, you know, I have an Instagram account, but I'm only posting once a week. That's really great. And that's really great for survival and the most basic level of brand awareness. But you are unfortunately not meeting best practices, which isn't triggering the algorithm, which is not rewarding you with reach and growth. So if you actually want to see growth, you have to be following these best practices or you're just going to be stagnant. And that's what I would consider a survival account. So there are these brands that are like, I'm going to be on everything. I'm going to be on 5 platforms, but they're not doing either of them well or appropriately or successfully. And I would recommend doing 2 or 3 really well-to best practices instead of just generally being on 5 or 6.
Yeah. Like you could definitely stretch that out and be like, oh, if someone searches me on that platform, I have an account and there's posts, it's populated. But yeah, on the other side of that, it wouldn't grow, like you said.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with having a survival account, like you said. If you just want like the most basic pulse heartbeat, that's fine. But you should not be expecting growth out of that.
And it comes back to kind of really optimizing your effort and returns.
Yes.
Striking the balance between maybe doing the best thing Twitter wants, which is tweeting 6 times a day.
Yeah.
I made that number up.
No, there's actually no maximum.
Okay. And versus like, well, is it just like a random fragment of a sentence that is going to make any sense? Like making sure that you're getting value for how much effort you're putting in. Like I know we talk about with our Instagram strategy, like at the time when we were talking about it, at least it's like it would be great if we were posting to our stories every day. But you know what? That's just not something we can really like put the time into. It would take away from like the quality of our posts, which are really what we want to focus on and also have a lot of return. So it's like, yeah, like picking and choosing and having somebody on, you know, your team who is really kind of familiar and keeping up with the algorithm to help inform those decisions is like so key. So speaking of algorithms, could you please explain some more about like, what are they? How do they impact you? What's going on?
Wow, if only we knew. They're kind of like a faceless god, you know? So the algorithms, for anyone who's not aware, they're basically the rules we have to play by in order to be meeting best practices. And these are like when you open your TikTok For You page, when you're on Explore on Instagram, when you log into Pinterest, your YouTube homepage. The content you see is what the algorithm thinks you're interested in. So if you just spent 2 hours watching basketball videos, it's going to recommend basketball videos.
Yes.
If like, you know, if you're really into trick shots, you're probably just going to keep seeing trick shots because it's like, wow, they're really into this. Let's keep feeding them more. So what we have to do is make sure that we are playing by the rules, the best practices, and that we are not accidentally doing anything that could count against us. So something that's kind of come out with YouTube algorithm, which is famously a mystery. They've said that not one single person at YouTube knows the whole piece, the whole picture of the YouTube algorithm. Thank you. But we know that if your video is all about traveling in London and then in the description box and the tags or whatever, you write traveling in Paris, it's going to flag that as like, oh, you're not being true. You're not telling the truth. You're not being relevant to your audience. And that's not necessarily going to count against you, but it's just kind of like it's not going to be good for your reach and your growth. So we need to make sure we're looking up, you know, which formats, which features are being pushed and make sure that we are playing by those rules.
Right. Native features.
Yes.
Way talking about how that is often like causes a big change in the algorithm and what content is being promoted.
Yes. So we've seen this with Instagram with when Reels came out, and it is a general rule that when there's a new feature, the platform really wants to push that feature. So when Reels came out, they were huge. They were great for explosive growth. People were seeing reach. They were seeing new followers. It was really, really being heavily promoted in the algorithm, and there was this feeling of, okay, geez, if you want to succeed on Instagram, you need to be posting Reels. If you want to see growth, you need to be posting Reels. And now, well, you know, a lot of people didn't like that so much. They missed normal old pictures. Even Kylie Jenner came out and was like, I miss when Instagram was Instagram. And we've seen that, you know, the Instagram chief has heard these complaints. And he came out earlier this year and said, all right, we're going to rebalance the algorithm between Reels and the normal posts. So like the carousels, static images, which is nice to see that someone actually heard the community and adjusted the algorithm to better, serve them instead of serving the competition.
So I can imagine from what I've seen that the push in the algorithm to go more towards Reels was created by TikTok catching fire, exploding everywhere. Now, would you say, I remember like the first time I heard the term algorithm, I believe it was surrounding TikTok. And kind of,
really?
Yeah, and kind of like it blowing up and ending up on everyone's phones and everyone being like, this algorithm is so good. Would you actually...
Well, it was the Wild West. The TikTok algorithm was the Wild West.
And would you say that one of the biggest reasons that TikTok blew up like it did, was because of the algorithm?
Absolutely. So other platforms have seen this issue, namely YouTube, where bigger creatives continue to get bigger. They continue to receive reach and exposure in their algorithms. The TikTok one, when I said it was the Wild West, it was just showing you whoever, whatever. They could have 4 followers and 3 views, but suddenly their video is on your feed. Or it could show you, a celebrity. And it was that mix of small and large. And we're seeing, YouTube kind of took that lead. And when you search something up on YouTube, it's no longer all the videos with 20 million views at the top. It's a mix of smaller creators now. So it has kind of... I don't want to say forced other platforms to reconsider things, but the TikTok algorithm, for many reasons, did change the game in what I think is a positive way.
I agree.
Yeah, it definitely provides more incentive for people to create content on the platform in addition to be a, viewer and user. And we're talking about the algorithm here a lot from both sides. Like this TikTok conversation is definitely a little bit more focused on the user experience of it. People were loving TikTok because of not only the ability to possibly blow up, but that the For You page was like so customized. It was about kind of accuracy and focusing on what you wanted to see versus what was most popular out there. And I think that really relates well to a concept we employ in our own content creation, which is niching down. Could you explain that some, please?
So niching down is super, super important to appease these algorithms. And also, just for your own brands. So this means communicating to the algorithm through what you post, who you are, who your audience is. So if you are a fitness company, you should be posting workout content. Maybe to some extent, certain like dietary content, protein shakes, etc. But you can't just suddenly be like, these are my outfits, this is my working out fashion, because if you start using hashtags and content around fashion, the algorithm's going to be like, wait a minute, I thought the audience was like sports and fitness and protein powder and like bulking up. Like, do you want to talk to people interested in style now? Is that who you want? Do you want people into fashion? And it'll start showing your content to people interested in fashion. And then you're getting these views on your page from people who aren't interested in your brand, so they leave and they bounce, and that's not great. We had this happen to us with the elder emo video that I posted months ago.
Remember that.
It was at the end tied back into marketing because I was listening to like yield emo music before working, and then I got it right into work. So at the very end, it did tie back to our brand, but because it blew up in the way that it did, the algorithm was like, this is who you want to talk to? You want to talk to hashtag elder emo? Okay. And it showed our content. Our brand was getting all of these views and followers from people that were part of a, music-based subculture, which is not at all what our brand is about. That's not what BrainDo is about. So it actually ended up hurting us for a solid month or 2 in the algorithm because it needed to relearn, okay, we're talking to people interested in content agencies, people interested in PPC marketing. Like I had to really nail down all these hashtags and like my engagement strategy that I employ to make sure I like reminded the algorithm who our audience is, who to target. And luckily we won't run into that again.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't predict what'll go viral and how that'll affect your account.
Never could have known. I mean, it got almost like 400K. I remember like my phone just started vibrating nonstop. Yeah. My mom was texting me. She was like, it can't have that many likes. What's wrong? Is it broken? I'm like, no, it has way more views. Like, the likes are proportionate to the views, which are even more insane.
Yeah. I didn't anticipate it popping off like that. I like pressed, live and then got in a car and immediately left for a cousin's birthday party. And you called me in the car, like, have you checked the video? I'm like, no, is something wrong? Was it like flagged for copyright or something? You were just like, no, it's blowing up.
Yeah. Yeah. And then people who like loved My Chemical Romance were getting served our videos about development, and they were like, I don't like this, and like not engaging. And then
people are arguing over what's emo, and then it's like, are you interested in like social media management?
Yeah.
We can be as emo or not emo as you want,
Right. Like, have you met Ron, our SEO man? He's in a band.
How about that GA4?
Yeah. But yeah, niching back down.
Yes, it's important to engage with and use language that fits your actual target audience.
Right. And engaging, like, not only are you putting out that content, but also that's the content you're engaging with when you're in the seat as the brand. Engagement strategy. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that is?
I did at one of my internships in college, because I had 3 social media internships. One, the owner of the brand was using the brand's account as his personal account, and he was going through and liking and engaging with some pretty inappropriate things to the account. And we had to have a conversation with him, like, hey, you can't use the brand's account to like and follow the people you want to like and follow, because not only does it mess with the algorithm, but it is kind of unprofessional. So you want to make sure you are using a brand account as a brand account and not as a personal account. And when you're in the brand account, let's say, again, you're a fitness company, you want to be interacting with other fitness accounts. Because again, that shows the algorithm, this account is interested in these other accounts. This must be a similar audience base. So you can go into whichever fitness account you like to follow, engage with those comments, get conversations going on other pages, which is a little bit of a tip. I have more, but I'm not giving them out for free. So if you want to increase your engagement strategy, give me a ring, give me an email. But you want to make sure you are engaging with other people within your niche. This podcast is powered by BrainDo, a digital marketing agency that not only provides a diverse mix of digital services, but offers guidance, experience, and true partnership to bring your business to the next level.
We've worked with businesses on every level, from local operations to Fortune 500 companies across a variety of industries. We have experts to help strategize and execute your digital marketing needs, no matter what step in the process you're at. We're there for you. Wireframes to paid campaigns.
BrainDo, experts in everything digital. Please reach out today to learn more about how we can help your business grow.
So when we were, interviewing Ron for our SEO and content episode, we were talking a lot about how, organic, social, and search are becoming more intertwined. Do you want to talk a little bit more about, how social and search are just popping off?
Yeah, so I can remember ye old days of Tumblr when basically the notes section, the hashtags, were your internal monologue thoughts. And that's just not how things work anymore. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting how this marriage of SEO and social has really come together over the past few years especially. So we are seeing now that platforms are being used as internal search engines. We've known for a long time that YouTube is the second most popular search engine. How often do you go to YouTube for a solve instead of just Googling something? But now, you go to TikTok, you look up hair tutorials, you look up recipes. You go to Pinterest, you look up style inspiration. Again, you look up recipes.
Love recipes.
We love Pinterest. Same thing with Instagram. Came out with a huge, fantastic update last year where, you type in a keyword, not even just a hashtag, just a keyword in the bar, and you get top posts, you get top accounts, you get hashtags, you get music, you get a location. Huge. So not only are these platforms little micro search engines in and of themselves, but we are also seeing captions being read for SEO quality. Are you actually, matching, especially on YouTube, what you wrote in your title with what you wrote in your description box? It's really important that if you use the word, London Cafe in your title, you use London Cafe in the first line of your description box, matching these lines up. You want to hit on what you want Google to be reading, essentially. If you would love to show up for bars near me, put that in your caption because it might get read. Hashtags are huge, obviously, for SEO. They're basically keywords, like keyword search, and you want to make sure you're getting good volume, good search volume with your hashtags. You can't just do hashtag Friday and expect to get likes from that hashtag. It's too high volume. It's too high competition.
Niche down once again.
Right. Exactly.
Always niching down.
Yes.
Yeah.
The more specific you can be. Well, we want that mid competition. We don't want you to be so specific that people only find you once in a blue moon. But yes, as specific as you can be within an appropriate search volume. That's the sweet spot.
Yes.
So you brought up Pinterest, right?
Love Pinterest.
I think it's very interesting because they've never been like the leading social media. Like they've always kind of like been in the middle, but kind of touching on the search capabilities, especially now of social media platforms. I think it's very cool that Pinterest is one of the only social media platforms that is open. It's open to the public. There's no like, you don't have to necessarily make an account. Of course, if you want to save some stuff, you need to make an account to keep track of that.
Understandably.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that's very cool how, their business model, how they're approaching that with search, not having to like necessarily commit right away.
Yeah.
But
just being able to Google something and there's like, oh, hey, Pinterest is right here. Click in, view whatever. Yeah. It's wonderful.
Yeah. It like that. I mean, it's not a paywall because you don't have to pay, but that kind of gating of content, like, oh, you looked at 3 pictures? Hold up, block, pop up. Like, you need to make an account. You need to sign in. Like, Instagram does that. Twitter, I think, does that. Like, that's all. It really is annoying, specifically because if you're on desktop, usually you engage on those on your phone. Even if you do have an account, you might not be prepared to, like, log in on desktop versus, like, your mobile phone.
True. So true.
And, I really like that Pinterest as well. It's kind of like that underdog. Like, it's always been there, and it's really been doing its own thing in a way. Like,
yeah. Pinterest has always had a very strong community. It hasn't always been, the trendiest platform to be on, but it has always had a very consistent community.
Yeah, it's not flaming out.
And with me working in paid, I can definitely speak towards the advantages of having that too, especially like anybody can access Pinterest and stumble upon an advertisement.
Yeah.
And especially if those advertisements are specialized in a way, it could lead to some good connections, some good, good product value placements, however you want to say that. Lack of words right now, but I think that's very cool how it's very open to advertisers too that are definitely benefiting from the way that Pinterest approaches search.
Yeah. Anyone can log in and look at a beautiful bathroom redesign.
Yeah. And they do have that new like Reels TikTok competition feature that they've sort of like.
Oh, the idea pens.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm not a huge fan of that, but they're not like wilding out like some other ones.
Correct.
Like TikTok's UI right now is just insane. I don't know what to do, where to click. There's so many like pop-ups and things happening that it's overwhelming.
We're seeing, I am a little worried it's going to go down like Vine went down. They're trying to find a way to pay their creators, and it's not scalable in the way that YouTube is. So what we're seeing is more pop-ups, more ads, and I think that's going to begin to keep people away from the platform as much.
Yeah, it's really affecting my ability or want to use it. What is this trivia? Why is it here?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah, we don't need to get into the trivia thing now, but yeah, it is interesting. We're going to see a lot more creators, I think, move from TikTok to YouTube Shorts because of just the monetization is so much better on YouTube.
Oh, wow, even for Shorts.
Yeah.
I guess so. That makes sense. I don't know why it never occurred to me.
Although Shorts are still limited to under 60 seconds, and TikTok you can post longer form content now, so that's a little, we'll see.
Cool.
I have faith in YouTube. I always have. I'm a YouTube girl.
I love YouTube.
So, it seems like, like with Vine, we've definitely seen monetization greatly affect how social platforms are built and how they perform. And sometimes even, creating a change later on that's like, and then everyone's like, whoa, what happened? Are there any other solutions that we're seeing arise maybe in the social media space?
So it's not new, but I do think it's on the up and up subscription-based platforms and models, and
Really?
like Twitter Blue and whatever else Twitter's trying to do with paid subscriptions right now. We have Snapchat has actually a pretty successful subscription program.
And bringing it back to AI, that is behind a paywall, which is My
Yes.
AI.
Yes, you have to have a Pinterest subscription to use the AI feature, which is probably going to influence a lot more people to actually buy into the Pinterest subscription. I think we're seeing a lot more of that on Instagram and Facebook as well. You are seeing members to YouTube channels, something you might not have thought about as being like a subscription-based program.
I'm a member of a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, why encourage people to go to other platforms like Patreon or Ko-fi when you
Right.
can, just integrate that to your own platform. I think YouTube was very smart for doing that.
I didn't even know they had that.
You can
that's
be a channel member.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely, now that you put that in that perspective, it helps, make it make sense a little bit more for me versus like, oh, I need to be like a subscriber to like engage on Instagram or have an Instagram to make a post, that sort of thing sounds like kind of wild. Like, I don't know that I would pay $5 a month just to be able to use Instagram, especially when I'm like aware of how much they're monetizing my use anyway. But like Instagram like doesn't have that problem as far as we know right now,
Well, there's tons of different examples across the internet of free versus paid versions.
Yeah, Twitter is like, I tried. I just couldn't do it. I had a survival account, which led to another survival account. I literally stopped posting on my one Twitter and said, you know what I need? I need to make a new account that's public, and that will push me to post more. So I said on my one private account, everyone check out this account. I'll be posting more. 2 weeks later, I'm stuck with 2 survival accounts.
Wait, so you were actually engaging with Twitter with like the goal to create content and not just consume content?
Yeah. Sometimes I would tweet out song lyrics, if I was feeling that.
Oh, that's right. You have this other side to you, this music side.
Yeah, sometimes,
But that also brings up another interesting point of if an account has been dead or in a survival state for long enough and you're ready to like revamp and actually push out a lot of content, do you reinstate this old account or do you start fresh?
Yeah.
And going back to YouTube, I've been like semi-retired for like a year now. I want to get back into YouTube and I've been flip-flopping. But ultimately, you should just use the older account because you're already established in a certain way. And when it comes to monetization features like on YouTube, those numbers could really count towards like for you. You can archive a lot of things now on different platforms like Instagram. So if your old content was all about like, your journaling and it just pictures of your journal, you can archive all that stuff.
That's
if
a
you're,
great feature.
like now a coach for something, like you're a fitness coach and it's more of like a real brand then. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great feature they added. But my old Twitter account, I'm pretty sure I posted the lyrics to Mr. Brightside like 3 times. So there's no going back for me at all.
Burn it. No, I'm a big fan of Mr. Brightside. It's a classic. The whole Killers album is great. So it's time to wrap up this lovely episode. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Always a pleasure, even though we're talking every day with each other. But
So just to end here, we love to do this little segment on Marketing Roundtable where we give some tips and tricks to viewers, listeners at home who might be, who are hopefully here to learn about social media and maybe have some things that they can do themselves if they want to improve their presence.
So 3 quick tips for any brand, company, or even personal brand that wants to really bolster their social media presence organically. 1, start with an audit. Go in with a really honest magnifying glass and be like, how often am I posting? What am I posting in terms of both content and format? If you're still posting horizontally on Instagram, it's time to stop, and it's been time to stop. So go back in. It's really easy to Google some really basic best practices. Honestly, if you want more of a peek behind the curtains, you can reach out and we can help you with some like real strategic and engagement efforts. But audit yourself. Am I meeting best practices, posting, content, etc.? Also, look at your competitors. What are they doing? And not in like a way to steal content, but just, for inspiration. Like how often are they posting? What kinds of content are they posting? But these aren't even like direct, like, I'm I keep talking about fitness accounts. I'm a fitness account. Let me look at other fitness accounts. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be any other person on social media, any other brand that you're like, I really love what they're doing. How can they kind of inspire my practice? So competitor research, auditing yourself. And the last thing is just to start small. If you have 5 platforms and you're ready to get back into social, maybe don't start with all 5. Just start with the 1 or 2 that you know you can do really well right now.
Right.
I love that point.
Right.
So
like
easy to get burned out.
Ron
Yes.
Swanson, don't half-ass, whole ass.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Better to
It
do
is.
1 or 2 things really well than a bunch of things just okay.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
Social media. Because again, it goes in the algorithms and like your bandwidth and all those other things we talked about.
Yeah, so that's great. Yeah, thank you. Those are some great tips.
You're welcome.
And next episode, we're going to have Thomas Bendel on. So you can look forward to that if you're interested. I'm going to go with yes, you are interested.
More content, more SEO. He also has some experience in video production.
Yeah.
He was also a firefighter and in the military
Right?
and on a rugby team. He's
And
a really
an executive. He's a man of many hats.
he's a
like,
really cool
Yeah.
person to talk to.
very young, but
Yeah.
storied past.
Right. He's lived many different lives.
it is going to be a great episode.
It will. It will.
Yeah,
We're
he also
super
does help
excited.
with the podcast. You just never
Yeah.
see him because he lives in
Right.
Florida. So, like, what are we going to do? So, yeah, thank you all for watching or listening. If you are on an audio platform, please consider leaving a review. That helps us in the algorithm, using our little social buzzwords here. And if you're watching, please consider leaving a comment.
Like, comment, only subscribe if you're going to keep watching the videos. You can connect with me on LinkedIn at Rachel Rose Rhodes. You can try to find me on other platforms. You can also, of course, follow the company BrainDo on LinkedIn. Connect with us there. You can find us on Instagram at brain.do. You can find us on TikTok at brain.do. We are not on Pinterest. We are kind of on Twitter if you want to follow us there as well, but you'll get better stuff right now, at least, on Instagram and LinkedIn. So those are the 2
Yeah.
places, if you want to find us, to go ahead and find us. Search us up.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time at the
Roundtable.
Roundtable.